Hello everyone. Our today's topic is habits and our brain. Let us understand in this video. Habits are nothing more than specific brain cells that talk to one another frequently, where frequency is the key. When the brain notices certain brain cells constantly chatting with one another, the brain puts a habit label on them. These habits, brain cells, are like little computers that are all linked. Like computers are linked in a computer network, so similarly, these are linked with one another or to another group of brain cells deep inside the brain called the basal ganglia. The basal ganglia is that golf ball sized mass of brain cells I mentioned in my last video as well. It has many purposes, one of which is controlling habits. Think of the basal ganglia as the central computer for the habits. One of its job is to oversee habits. When it sees an opportunity, the basal ganglia does one of the two things. The first one is label certain brain cells as habits. And the second is instruct those brain cells when to begin a habit. When the basal ganglia sees an opportunity to start a habit, it sends a signal to the front part of our brain that it's a time to engage in a habit. The moment the front part of our brain receives the signal, it sends a command, and those habit brain cells then tell us to engage in some habitual behavior. Now, my questions are, why does the brain do this? Why are the habits so important to the brain? Actually, habits save the brain from work, which means the brain uses less energy and less fuel at that time. When the brain engages in a habit, it requires almost no work. It's an unconscious act at that time. This is important because thinking and other conscious acts consume a great deal of glucose and oxygen. Now, the question may arise in your mind that what is the purpose of this glucose in brain? So, glucose is the fuel supply to every cell in the human body, including the brain as well. All the fuel all the food we consume is eventually converted into glucose or stored for later use in our fat or muscles. Glucose passes through each cell, and once inside the cell, it is violently ripped apart and converted to use as a fuel. Converting glucose to cell fuel requires oxygen. Each day, our little 3.5 pound brains consume 20% of the entire body supply of glucose and oxygen. Unlike the rest of the body, which can store glucose in fat and muscle, the brain can't store glucose. The brain has no readily available supply of fuel to use when it needs it. For this reason, glucose is considered a precious commodity to the brain. Habits reduce the brain's need for this precious brain fuel. With respect to the brain, habits are an investment. In the beginning of the formation of any habit, the brain invests precious brain fuel, that is obviously glucose, in the creation of a habit. And this habit creation process is like building a house. A lot of work goes into constructing the house, but once the house is built, the construction work ends. It's the same thing with habits. Once the habit is formed, there's very little work required by the brain in maintaining or engaging in a habit. It's very efficient, and you know what? Brain likes efficiency. Habits require less brain fuel. For these two reasons of efficiency and fuel conservation, the brain naturally likes habits, encourages habits, and fight us when we abandon or try to change an existing habit. That is why habit change is so hard. Our own brain goes to war with us each time we try to change a habit. According to a famous study by University College of London, performed on 96 people, the habit formation process took anywhere from 18 to 254 days, with an average habit taking 66 days to form. The study also found that the more complex the behavior, such as swinging a golf club, the more time it took for a habit to form. Less complex habits, such as teaching children to brush their teeth every day, could be formed in a matter of days only. This study made clear that Habits come in many shapes, sizes, and shades, each with its own unique level of complexity and influence over our daily lives. The adoption of some habits affects our lives more than others. One powerful habit, in other words, can offset three or more less powerful habits in terms of the consequences they have on our lives. Smoking cigarette, for instance, is a bad habit that can negatively offset the benefits of daily exercise as well as good nutrition. Now the main thing is, who wants to wait as long as 254 days for a new habit to stick? Frankly speaking, I don't. You are looking at 254 days of hell. Isn't it so long? So this is why New Year's resolution only lasts a few weeks. The brain eventually forces you back into your old habits. There's a much easier way to change your habits. And there are ways we can fool the brain into enthusiastically embracing habit change. But unless you know how to fool the brain into adding or removing a habit, you are going to lose the war. And habit change will be impossible. I am trying in these videos to share with you the unique strategies that some best people uncovered in their research, which will allow you to fool the brain into changing your habits. Instead of fighting you on habit change, these strategies will actually seduce the brain into wanting to change a habit. Your brain will self want to change your habit if you will use these strategies. When your brain becomes a partner with you in changing your habits, habit change occurs immediately, which means your life begins to change immediately. Money problems, relationship struggles, work issues, poor health, and many other parts of your life that are just not going well at all will immediately begin to change for the better once you change your habits. So, guys, all is a choice that you need to make, either to get best out of you or lead your life as it is. Choice is all yours. Good luck. See you in the next video and thank you. Bye bye.